Good morning, hello everybody, and welcome back to another new vlog. Thank you for joining me once again. This morning you find me pretty much on the edge of a field. There is a footpath which is quite a well-trodden one, so obviously I'm allowed to be here, but on the way through this field I've encountered quite a few sheep with some very young lambs as well, so I've had to be very mindful of that and try not to disturb them too much. But I'm on my way up to a hill called Caer Caradoc. Now I've been here before but never got to the summit of Caer Caradoc. As I look around, you might be able to see behind me, just in the distance, that there is the Long Mynd, which I've been up several times before, and I've headed back over to the town of Church Stretton. And if I turn back around this way, behind me you'll see that tree just there. Just behind there's another hill, and that essentially is Caer Caradoc, where I'm heading this morning. Like I say, I came up here before and I kind of messed it up a little bit, to be quite honest with you. I made a bit of a porridge of that particular walk. So today I've decided to come back and unporridge the walk. Now I know what you're thinking, that sounds a bit odd. Yes, of course it does, but essentially what I'm doing is finishing off where I left off before and ensuring that I complete the walk that I couldn't complete before. So that's the idea today. So I'm going to head off and start making my way up the hill. I've noticed there are some more sheep just in front of me, so I'm going to have to be mindful of them as I walk past. But I know where I'm going because I remember this part of the walk from the last time I was here. I've just got to make sure I continue the walk up to the top of the hill. Anyway, come along with me and we'll get up there soon. So it looks like I found the hill. That's it behind me, going up there. That's going to be really interesting, trying to climb all the way up that. It's quite a steep path by the looks of things, but the good news is it's not particularly high. It's only about 450 metres. I think it's probably about the same height as the Worcestershire Beacon in the Malvern Hills, and I've been up that several times without any problems whatsoever. But I'm just trying to work out exactly where the path goes behind me to see how I get up to the top of this hill. So I'm going to make my way up there now, but first of all I'm going to take my jacket off because it's already got quite warm, and I'm going to put some sun cream on as well because the sun is trying to break through the clouds at the moment. So hopefully we'll get some great views at the top of the hill when we get up there. So wearing the jacket this morning probably was slightly too much. It is a bit warm. You can probably tell from the clouds behind me that it is quite overcast. However, there's possibility of some sunshine a little bit later, and also very slight possibility of a little bit of rain as well. So I'm just trying to follow this path up the hill. I haven't gone very far since I last spoke to you. It's all going quite well, apart from the fact that I've got sun cream on my glasses, and obviously that's very difficult to wipe off and get perfectly clean, so I'm a little bit blurry at the minute. But don't worry too much about that. I'll keep walking, I'll keep heading on up the hill, and I'll see if I can get some great photos at the top. Well, it looks as though I've made it almost to the top. If I swing you around, just behind me just there, that little rocky outcrop I think might well be somewhere near the summit, or alternatively it could be a little way over here. I don't know exactly, but either way I'm going to have an explore while I'm up here. Apologies for any wind noise if you can hear me. It's suddenly got quite breezy up here. I found myself on a little flat spot kind of near the top of the ridge, and I can see all the people behind me up on those rocks up there, so I think that's probably the summit where I've got to go to. So I'm going to head up that way anyway. But like I say, I'll still have a bit of an explore around here while I'm up here, just for a few minutes, and capture some really interesting photos. The clouds are really rolling in now, so I don't know how much longer I've got before the rain arrives, but check out those 360 views that I've got at the moment. The landscape around me is fantastic, so there's got to be a few decent compositions up here. I'm going to carry on and see if I can get to the top. Shouldn't be too long now though. So that breeze really takes the edge off the temperatures, and I managed to get up to the top. Excuse me, wind's taking my breath away at the minute. Yeah, I managed to get up to the top, and I couldn't find any kind of summit cairn or anything like that, but I was obviously at the highest point of the hill. I did try and take a photo while I was up there, but like I say, this breeze is absolutely killing everything. There's a nice composition, I think, of these rocks just behind me, and I want to stop here and take that, but also want to try and capture some of the landscape falling away from the hill. Over in the distance, some beautiful fields and greenery, and it's beautiful. So I want to try and capture that within the image, but also I might want to try and capture a couple of interesting shots just of the landscape itself whilst I'm up here. But I've got to try and find some spot within the lee of the breeze to do that, because I can't hold my tripod up unless I hand hold the camera. So that brings with it even more difficulties and more challenges in terms of speeding up my shutter and then opening up the aperture, and therefore reducing my depth of field. So I'll see what I can do up here for a few minutes, and then I'll make my way back down. There's a raven up here that keeps flying about. At first I thought it was something else, but it does appear to be a raven, and every now and then I spot it just flying around and making a terrible noise. But it's quite an interesting sight up here. I've got another beautiful composition just behind me, back down into the valley where I've walked up from, so I think I'm going to stop here and capture that shot. And also there's some beautiful lines and shapes of these hills now as I've started to walk back down the path. So I'll stop here and get another couple of images. It's starting to rain, it's a bit drizzly, nothing special, but the wind's dropping as well, as I've dropped down probably about 30 or 40 metres from the summit now, maybe even a little bit more than that. So on the way back down, on the descent, there might be some interesting images here. So I appear to have taken a wrong turn again. You kind of expect that from me really on these vlogs, don't you? But I've managed to find my way back onto a path which I think is an old farmer's track, or in fact just a farmer's track, that runs back towards Church Stretton. And if you remember where I started my walk earlier this morning with those sheep in the field, this track will go along towards there and then cut through a little bit of a woodland and then out into that field again. So hopefully in about half an hour from now I'll be somewhere I recognise again, unless of course I've taken the wrong path. But in the meantime, there is a spot along this path, if it's the right path, that I stopped at previously when I didn't get up to Caer Caradoc, up to the top of it before, and I stopped there and took a nice interesting photo of the hill from this particular path. Now I want to get back there and see if the composition looks as good today, because I think obviously the conditions are much better than they were the last time I was here, and therefore it might be worth retaking the shot again now. So I'm heading along this path behind me, and hopefully that gets me to the point where I can take that photo again. We'll soon see. So I am on exactly the right path, because that there just behind me appears to be the gate that I went through earlier that you saw footage of as I was opening and closing the gate. And then behind it is the path that I headed on up after I took off my jacket and covered myself in sun cream. That doesn't seem all that long ago now, and I've had quite a nice walk since then. So although I have taken a wrong turn further up the path, it's brought me back to the point where I recognise and where I know I'm going from here. So I'm going to carry on heading back down. There's a couple of interesting compositions I want to take on the way back to Church Stretton as I head back down from Caer Caradoc. I'll show you those as I get to them. So let's carry on and see how far we get. This is the very spot that I stopped at the last time I came here and made a porridge of the walk. And as you can see, I've got Caer Caradoc in the background, and I've basically walked along this path previously and took a photo from just here up towards Caer Caradoc. But that at that point was at the point that I'd already made a bit of a mistake, a bit of a boo-boo, and basically couldn't finish the walk in the time that I felt I had. So instead I stopped here and took a photo, and the conditions were pretty rough at the time. I think the conditions are only very slightly better today. So I'm going to stop and take the image again. But the good news is this is quite a good spot for me to stop and put my bag down because the floor is nice and flat, and I can put my jacket back on now that I'm here, because from here on in the walk is fairly easy. I'm not going to get too warm doing it, and it'll be all right to just be wearing my jacket anyway. Up at the top of there, I knew that I was going to get quite hot and quite sweaty trying to climb up that incline. And when you look at this image that I take now, you'll see the path going up the side of Caer Caradoc, and that was the path that I was thinking I might not be able to get up earlier today. But I've managed it, and we've done the walk, and I've been up at the top of that hill just in front of me. So I'll take a photo of this now, and then I'll move on. For the last 5 minutes or so, while I've been setting up that shot and taking the photo, there was a cuckoo making a row around here somewhere. I never saw it, but I could hear it, and it was moving around either side of the path. So at some point it must have flown past me, or there may even be two of them. But I don't know if you can hear it now. No, it stopped now, just as I stopped talking. But yeah, that's been flying around and making a noise. I've also heard the raven that I talked about earlier making a noise a little bit further up towards the top of the hill. So I don't know if they're having some sort of little conflict between them or what. But it's been a nice, interesting walk so far. It's not quite over yet, because on the way up here, I did notice there were a couple of decent compositions that I wanted to stop and capture on the way back. So I'll show you those as I get back to them, and I'm going to make my way to those now. I've just taken shelter under a tree because there is a little bit of rain falling at the moment. It's only drizzly, and I think it's just a passing shower, to be honest. But just as I step away from the shelter of this tree and then turn around, I'll show you what I've got in the distance. In the background there, just behind me, that is Caer Caradoc, he says. Yep. That is Caer Caradoc. I'll try and move a little bit further over so you can see it a little bit better. I don't want to go too far because it's scaring the sheep away. Yeah, so that is Caer Caradoc just there. I've been up there this morning, and essentially, I don't know how well you can see it, but there are a cluster of rocks just at the very top of Caer Caradoc. They were in one of the compositions that I took a little bit earlier, those very rocks indeed, in fact. So I hope you've enjoyed those images. I'm stopping here because there are two other images I want to take that I wanted to tell you about. First of all, there's that composition looking back towards Caer Caradoc. But also, if I turn around the other way, there's quite a nice composition over my shoulder here, back towards the Long Mynd, and that's the other side of Church Stretton. It's a place where I've been several times before for vlogs, and I've really enjoyed it. So I think there's a nice image from this side of Church Stretton towards the Long Mynd, but also this shot of Caer Caradoc works quite well. And I think I'll be able to get the tripod out here as well, just where I'm standing, hopefully, without bothering anybody too much. So I'll take these shots and then I'll get moving on. So I had to take those two photos while the rain was still falling. It has now stopped, and again the sun has come out, so it's quite interesting these kind of conditions, trying to decide when and how to compose your shots. But it's been a nice challenge. I've enjoyed the water, that's for sure, and I'm glad that I finally got to the top of Cayo Caradoc. But there are a couple of lessons that I have learnt from this particular journey today. First of all, it's good to have a wide versatility of lenses. So in my case, I've got 4 lenses. I probably only need 3 of them. But I quite often use the 14 to 35mm for landscape photography, and that has always been my favoured lens for the genre. However, today I've been using the 24 to 105 a couple of times, like with those last couple of images that I've taken of Cayo Caradoc and the Long Mynd, simply because in those situations I couldn't get the right focal length with the 14 to 35, it's just too wide. So I had to try and zoom in a little bit. And importantly, in the second image, I think I was around about 85mm for that image of the Long Mynd. So that's one little takeaway from this. But also, I've really enjoyed the beautiful wildlife that I've seen and heard today. It's been an absolute pleasure to be out and about on this walk, because I think being out and about in nature really helps with both physical and mental health, and that's kind of the thing that strikes me every time I go out. You've got to be enjoying this kind of landscape photography because of how it makes you feel, how it improves your overall well-being, to be quite honest with you. So those are the 2 takeaways from today. If you've enjoyed today's vlog, and if you've enjoyed the images, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, and also please remember to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And as I always say, I look forward to seeing you again on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.